This is so funny.
Hey guys! Welcome to a brief but entertaining, I'd say, version of Recipe for Reality on the road, baby. Zach, stop staring at this camera. Stare at the road.
You've been here before. You've seen this car. It's not unfamiliar to you.
But usually Zach is parked when we're doing this, and we don't know how the connection is in terms of streaming. It may be cutting in and out. We don't know. We are live. So this is just like a very experimental road edition of A Recipe for Reality. We just wanted to kind of spend our drive down the shore talking about the first 2 weeks of Big Brother. Last time we talked was the day before Luke's expulsion from the house.
True.
So we have a lot to catch up on. Let's just jump right in because we want to make this as short as possible. We don't want to like overwhelm you. And if we do pass any police officers on the road, I might just like take the phone and hold it on myself just because I don't want it to be obvious that like Zach is streaming while driving, but he is doing it safely, and I have my eyes on the road as well.
If you're a police officer and you watch us,
and you're doing something wrong too, because you're watching a stream. I think recording a stream is better than watching a stream. Anyway, speaking of illegal, Luke broke the rules.
Oh my god.
No, I don't mean to laugh because it is a serious matter. Obviously, there was a rule breaking, but I think the most important thing to say is that like it's not the fact that he broke the Big Brother rule. That's should be the big controversy. It's the fact that of like what rule and how he broke it and how he kind of played it off. Like I know a lot of people are saying, well, yeah, he has to go because he broke a rule. No, he has to go because he's insensitive. He doesn't realize the harm that that word causes.
It's not just the rule breaking. It's the feelings after the rule breaking. Because as we know in past seasons, right? We've had these issues. We've had people drop these words. We've had the rules broken. But what we've really never seen is we've never seen the like blatant acknowledgement of not only have I broken a rule, I don't really care. And I'm going to tell you like why it's not that bad. And as we've discussed, these issues aren't just important because, it's a rule and it's been broken and, we want the game to be fair. Of course we want the game to be fair, but above all else, this is a social experiment. And one of the most important things is that what Luke proved is that with his presence in the house, for a majority of those house guests, he did not create a safe environment.
No.
He did not create a safe environment, and his removal from the game, based not only on on the saying of the word, but the way that he didn't see it as a big deal
and laughed it off. Well, I think he realized it was a big deal, but the way he laughed about it made it seem like it was a slip of the tongue. And I think it's even worse to say, "Oh, that just came out," because that means it's very much subject to come out again. So Luke's gone. That's all I want to spend on Luke. 3 minutes and that's max because he broke the rule. He's out. Then the big issue comes. Oh, they're gonna have the eviction anyway. Zach, do you think it was right to have this eviction anyway? We know that there was this talk of an 18th house guest and how this ruined all the plans. There was never an 18th house guest. That was all speculation.
It was all speculated.
There was a little trolling from Derek X. We love that, but it turns out that there was no 18th house guest and that they were strictly going through the eviction, I think, because normally when people get expelled, there's an eviction. When Willie Hantz got expelled, there was an eviction that week. When Shima got expelled, there was an eviction that week. Justin, same thing. All those times, this is the 5th time it's happened. Last year with Paloma was a little different because it was a quit. And I know Megan quit also, and they still had an eviction. The reason they canceled the eviction after Paloma is A, because the person on the block was subject to a lot of bullying from Paloma, being Taylor, and because of the backstage boss twist, there was potential that Paloma would have to be on the block anyway because she was one of the backstage picks alongside Alyssa Snyder. So I think for that reason, it was like, we have to cancel this eviction because Paloma needs to be here for this eviction to take place. This was not that scenario. This was we're still going to have the eviction because we need to have the eviction. Now, the only thing I think is weird is A, within a 100-day season, now what do? You do 2 battle backs. But then the weird thing is, Julie reveals that Suri and Jared are related to Kirsten. So we know there's not a battle back in the first half of the season, which means are we going to have 2 jury battle backs? Is there going to be no double eviction? Is there going to be a reset button type thing? How are we going to fill 100 days if you're losing 2 off the bat? I know it's a 17-person house guest, but even still, I just don't know what they're going to do now. And I think they almost should have canceled it for the sake of their schedule more than anything else. Because Kirsten was a dead man walking in terms of she got some good report back with social bonds and stuff, but she was gone no matter what. Right. To where I don't know if extra time would have really made her game better, but it's also like, if you have such a big season to fill 100 days, why not just give it the courtesy, especially because of the circumstances on how Luke got expelled, just put 2 women, black women on the block after that and make one of them still go home after that. It just felt a little weird. I get why they had the eviction, but it just felt a little weird, especially in the episode where they addressed the Luke thing.
I'm in your camp, Dill. I do think, and we sort of touched on this the last time we spoke, 100 days is a lot of time. It's the longest Big Brother season we've ever seen. Yeah. It's with less. That's almost 3 weeks less, and that is including double evictions. That's including
triple evictions.
That's including triple evictions. Yeah. That's including, battle backs. That's including all of these different things that it's available to have happen. So the fact that we are not seeing a first battle back is a little alarming, unless, right? And again, everything we say is always with a grain of salt. And there is not even anything out on the internet about this, right? This is just me and my pure BB speculation. We could see Kirsten given the ability to come back in, or these people given the ability to come back into the house as they get evicted with this new knowledge, right? Maybe it's a part of a twist. They keep telling us to expect the unexpected. Do I think that that's likely? Almost 0%.
Expect the unexpected. We're going to tell the person that you all agreed was the worst player of the season that 2 of these players are related, including one Survivor legend, and then we're going to put her back in the house. And I think that's a stretch.
I don't. Do I think that's going to happen? No, absolutely not. But you know what I mean? Like, I just really don't know how we're going to fill 100 days. And I think that they have CBS has the ability to prove us wrong. Yeah. What's cool is that I'm going to kind of shift a little bit to, all right, so Kirsten gets evicted. The reveal of Siri and Jared being related pops up, and we're all shocked because we're like, oh, well, she's not coming back now. There's no 18th house guest. And then you see the portal in the backyard, right, which leads us into this next week.
Which is very funny because that happened. It's like the Suri reveal. The first episode, Suri comes in the house. This is the biggest thing for any Survivor Big Brother fans ever, and really big for Survivor fans who don't like Big Brother, because this is going to be the thing that gets Survivor people to watch Big Brother. It's true. And they dump it at the very last second of the episode to where it's like, did that even happen? And then Julie has to really quickly be like, Suri's playing. Bye. Good night. The same thing happens here where they spend the whole time teasing this big multiversal twist, and at the very end of the episode, it's like, house guest, where are you? Like, I really feel like that could have been milked a little longer, and especially because the first episode, we're getting this whole, like, alumni feel with Daniel Reyes, Brittany, and Frankie. There's not been a single reference to the game after that.
Right.
And I was hoping that every challenge, or at least every week, maybe a different player would come and shake things up in the way that Frankie, Danielle, and Brittany did. Like, if it's a scary verse, have like Johnny Mack, I know that was one of the speculative 18th house guests, come back as like this evil dentist, and now you're trapped in my realm. Or have like Zach Rance be the Demigorgon, the Nether Gorgon. Sorry, Stranger Things fans. But it's like, I just don't know. I get the whole aspect of the multiverse being this season's theme, but being 25 years, I was expecting more of like the alumni and the history of the game also playing into it. And maybe we'll get more of that later, but I was hoping for classic challenges to come back. Maybe Brittany is going to host the challenge where she fell off the wiener. Maybe Kathy's going to come back and host the challenge where there's
honey and caramel, and she
like
gets slapped, right?
That for me, and that might have actually been the same challenge now that I think about it, or the same week. I think that was the have-not competition the same week as the slippery wiener. But have that be the thing. Like, I like the whole idea of we're going to use this backlot, and now we're transitioning the episode, but using the backlot because the writer's strike and actor strike is going on. No one's filming in the set. We'll make it like a horror movie set. Great, I like that idea, but then bring back maybe the horrors of Lawan's terrible gameplay and have Lawan host it or something. Like, I was waiting for something to happen more, but I think that's just kind of what we're getting this season is now like the multiverse is the thing.
And here's the thing, I think that there's still tons of possibility and potential for that to occur. Absolutely. Again, 100 days. It's not even been, today is the 14th of 100 days.
Right.
So we've still got so much time left, which is great. That being said, right, and I think the fans are pulling for it. The Big Brother fandom is a little weird, right? We've been craving like a good villain, not a bad person, but like a game villain, and Hisam has really started to become that kind of player. We're getting it, and people are a little. I keep saying his name wrong. I am so sorry. I apologize. Hisam has really become that kind of a player, and people are unhappy with it. That's become one of the hard things about a fandom that's 25 years in, or not 25, 25 seasons, and is that we crave something. We'll never be fully satisfied with it, right? We'll never be satisfied until we get our perfect season.
That's a Hamilton reference.
It was an accident, but yes.
Yes. You'll never be satisfied.
So we get into the episode and we see here. I want to just highlight a couple of things about the HOH competition.
Yeah. Oh, this HOH competition could have its own, and this
could have its own episode.
Matt Chapman is now watching this season, which is big. Thank you, Matt, for watching. Matt told me to mention here he wants to do his own frame wreck mini episode on this challenge alone, and I texted him as soon as this challenge happened. I said this could be his own frame wreck episode because our show frame wreck we talk about so bad they're good movies. This is the epitome of a so bad it was good because all of the house guests are acting, but they're so bad at it that it just makes for the most hilarious experience. You have Matt, poor Matt is so deaf. And has this no, he's deaf, but has this Nether Gorgon who's speaking that the audience can't even understand, let alone the poor deaf contestant. And then you've got like Bowie Jane just screaming at the top of her lungs. It is the most entertaining I've ever.
I do want to speak on that actually. That you said that, and it came out today. There's an article today that actually showed a picture of tonight's veto competition.
Yes.
Talking about Matt. And talking about the accommodations, which I do want to shout out CBS really quickly. I think that's awesome. I know that we have unfortunately seen what we think is not great accommodating, but that they went to those lengths to accommodate is pretty awesome.
Well, they must have, when they started the season, thought what they were doing was enough, but then realized, having Julie talk on the loudspeaker is not helpful for Matt. These big group settings are not helpful to Matt. Having voting in the diary room at eviction night is not helpful for Matt. To where I think they're learning from their mistakes and improving as it goes, which is awesome to see, especially with someone who is hard of hearing himself. I'm hard of hearing right here. It would be nice to know that if I'm in the Big Brother house, I'll be taken care of the same way Ian was when he talked about his autism. I'm very happy that they're accommodating because it's probably tough for him, and I'm glad they're accommodating. But also at the same time, I was like, if I can't understand this Nether Gorgon, I feel bad for Matt because I don't know how he is unless they do have captioning for him because it was just the most muddled voice. But that's just one element of the whole challenge.
So some highlights of the challenge, both in terms of performance and in terms of actual strategic performance. The first performance I'm going to shout out is Riley running out as if she is so scared. It was so funny in the best possible way because I was like, they told her to look as scared as she possibly could, and boy, howdy did she. And it would really foreshadow how she feels the rest of the week. My bad. Some great gameplay from Corey, right? Corey, who, first of all, we got to shout out Beach Zach. One of the funniest. Way to go, Corey.
And he said the rest of the season he's not doing any shout-outs. That was the one shout-out.
That's all he wanted
to do. If he made it past week one, which Zach did not, in Survivor, he was going to say BG Zach, and it was an amazing moment. Corey is someone I went from being like, oh, this guy's
I knew it, man.
I went from being like, he's going to be so annoying to being like, he is now one of my favorites. And it's because he's also kind of embracing the fact that he is kind of like a little nerd, but like, he's also got really strong, confident social skills. Okay, sorry about that.
Happened.
Zach decided to just play the intro.
I thought the script was going to record.
No, we're just literally, it's battery saving mode. It's fine. Great. But the fact is Zach can't see himself is good because that means he's not going to be looking at himself, he'll be looking at the road.
All right, anyway. I'm not looking at myself. Anyway, no, I think one of the cool things about this episode, we got to see a lot of Corey, and even on live feeds this week, we've really gotten to see a lot of Corey doing really what he said he was going to do in his preseason, which I love getting to see people talk their game out loud right before things happen, and then follow through with it. Because this is something that I've grown on America a little bit. I do like her a lot more than I did from her preseason
especially
interview.
when we're talking about Corey, we're gonna have to talk about America if you don't
know. Because America, all of us love Corey so much.
And also, well, we'll talk about all three of the potential showmances. Two that I think are happening, and then one that is not happening that CBS really wants to happen. We'll talk about it.
So one of the best things that we get to see right now about Corey is that he is very strategic, very methodical, very calculated, right? And this is something that he really tried to highlight, right? If he couldn't win that first HOH, what he wanted to do was play up the fact that he is so young, so unassuming. He doesn't know, he doesn't know everything, or he doesn't know how to navigate certain things. And that is something that he's really done a good job at doing since coming back from the Nether region that first week. And he wasn't there very long, but what he did do is he cemented himself as not a threat. People love having him as part of their alliance. And this whole kind of first week, he was sort of like a back thought. He was sort of like, oh yeah, we can use Corey. Like, oh yeah, Corey will be helpful. Now in the second week, he has become a vital asset to most everybody's game. Cerie's game, he has become a huge part of, even though he made a bit of a blunder in the first week. The only person who has clocked, right, and the only person, well, not even playing too hard, he spoke a little too much about how much he knows about
Right, that's
Cerie.
what I meant. Like, he played a little too hard to the person you don't want to show you're a threat to.
But she's not doing so hard herself right now.
Well, I disagree. We'll talk about it.
We will talk about it. But I think one of those reasons is that Corey has enough knowledge. He doesn't have the knowledge about Jared and Cerie yet. I do think that that's something that's going to drop.
Our bet is still going on, and is he still the only person who knows?
But people are figuring it out. Kirsten knew. She didn't know.
She didn't know until they told her.
The gears will turn.
It made sense.
I think the gears will turn.
I still okay. Well, that's another conversation. Get back to the Corey though. Yeah.
But what's amazing is that Corey went from being kind of the nub in everyone's game to really like essential to most people's games.
Well,
go ahead.
And I'll tell you why that is. I don't think it's necessarily that he's a good strategic player. He's a fine strategic player. We just haven't really seen him in control. I think the difference is that he's an actual really good social player. And that's something that, I'll be honest, I didn't get from his pre-game press. He didn't really stress the social angle. He said he'd be a really good talker, but that sounded more strategic to me. What he didn't let on is that he's actually really funny and really good to be around. He was dressing up in like this little fashion show with Blue where he dressed up as her and she dressed up as him, because he always wears pink and stuff. And like, I really think that is why he's succeeding so well. Like, Cerie, yes, he came out saying all the things he loved about her game in Survivor, which was too much, but then he's also just been really nice to her and kind to her, where I think everyone just wants to work with him. Even Heisem, who did very clearly not like Corey week 1, doesn't nominate him week 2 because he's not a problem. He's a likable guy. I want him around, and I think that's big because he could have very clearly been like, Riley's the biggest threat. She's coming after me, but I just don't like Corey. But he didn't do that. He nominated Riley because she's a threat. And Corey's safe because people just like him. And at this point in the game, especially so early on, that could just be all it is. That could just be how you stick around. It's just 5 people like you. And that's kind of the thing with Kirsten. I don't think people really liked her.
Which I think was wrong. I think, you know what, we didn't even really touch on Kirsten in her game. Not that, unfortunately, there wasn't much game to see, but one of the most important things and one of the hardest things, and this is what I said preseason was going to be her issue. The person who says they want to start an all-girls alliance or an all-boys alliance or all whatever, that always goes south because the game of Big Brother is not made up of male versus female. Unless it was a twist of the season, which would be different, it is not made up of that because truly, you can't have it all. You cannot have it all as just a single unit of men versus women, especially in this day and age where we have accepted and understand that non-binary people don't fit into that box so easily.
Also, in Survivor, it's different because everyone's voting and everyone but one is vulnerable.
Right.
Here, it's different. Here, everyone's voting, but only 2 people are vulnerable. So it's not like you can just every time vote out a guy. It's like you have to get them on the block. You have to make sure that people are like. It's a very different game. Survivor, we've seen 2 female alliances just beast out. We saw in Micronesia with Cerie, and then we saw in One World. But like that's the only 2 times it's happened. But it's happened, But here you can't really do that. I mean, I guess Derek and Cody's that was also an all-male alliance. Like it just.
But it didn't.
So,
And
but
it
it's
didn't
also
start
because I
out
think they were
way.
also all winning their challenges. If Amber and Victoria had started winning some challenges, Christine, Nicole, you never know how it shifted.
It's very similar to like the Brigade. The Brigade is a 5-guy alliance, but you know the reason that they do so well in the end is because Brittany was there with them up until 4, and it's different. It's different in this scenario.
Yeah, Kristen was just an easy scapegoat because she was playing hard day one, and it was like, good, she's playing hard, let's get her. And also the nominees were given to them. And we gotta remember that. Would Kirsten have been nominated otherwise? Probably, but we just don't know.
And we also can't stress enough, this does not excuse if people are excluding her, if people are, not paying attention to her, kind of shoving her under the rug. That still, whether you're going home or not, especially if you're going home, that's more reason to just bring someone in to have a conversation with them, right? That's kind of that thing to kind of exclude, which was a lot of people's problems on Twitter and threads and just overall throughout the internet. But so Kirsten going out, sorry for her, but a good thing for pretty much everybody's game. No one's game comes out unscathed. But the last thing I want to say about Corey is Corey's mention of not wanting to win that HOH proves how good strategically he is, because he had enough wherewithal to say, look at where I'm at right now. I don't need this. And in fact, I shouldn't. I shouldn't win this.
Corey is playing a game that I think is very reminiscent, at least the early phase of Dan Giesling in season 10, because Dan Giesling, week 1, him and Brian are the targets. Right. It's not him and Brian, but Brian becomes the target week 1 because of the house. But like Brian and Dan's on the outs because of Brian week 1, and then week 2 he's on the block. Very could be booted, but then doesn't. And then from then on, he's almost just so much of a, we don't need to get him out now, that he just ends up becoming one of the numbers.
When you give them
Corey,
you give them time to cook. Yeah, they're gonna be
Corey
great.
with the nether region immediately made himself an outcast, was on the block, but as soon as Riley saved him, now he's safe. Now people just look at him as a number, and I think that's smart for Corey. Now, the thing I'll say about Jared is a type person who also should not want to win this challenge, because if he wins, he's got to show his cards. He's got to keep his mom's side safe, and he's gonna have to go against his 8-person alliance, the handful. He's the one person who doesn't need to win. Who do we see at the end with Hisam? Jared. And what do we see Jared do? Win the challenge. Now, he didn't win. He picked the wrong door, but he goes to the door because he knows that's the right door, and he didn't throw the comp is what I'm trying to say. He tried to win that comp. And it is the best blessing in disguise that he lost, because if he had won, I think he would have sank his game, his mom's game. I think everyone would have figured out, maybe not that they're related, but that he's working with Cerise's side of the house. They still don't know 100% because he didn't win. Right. And I really think Hisam winning is the best case scenario, because also now Hisam has 2 wins. This one is because Jared lost less than Hisam won, but still Hisam won, and now he also won the veto, spoiler alert, which is coming tonight. I know a lot of people who are watching this watch the feed, so and you'll watch this after the veto, but he wins the veto, so now he has 3 comps under his belt, and everyone's starting to see him as a threat because of the way he's so blunt talking to Riley. So I really think Jared losing was the biggest blessing in disguise for him, but if he had won this, I think he sinks his whole game this week. So I was very anxious at the end when it was the 2 of them, and I knew the result of the HOH, but just seeing that Jared tried so hard to win it, I was like, why? Why are you trying so hard to win it? You should be playing Corey's game. And that's why I don't have high hopes for Jared.
This is why I think, unfortunately, why our preseason kind of rankings. This is unfortunately why I think those preseason rankings we did on Jared, or placements of Jared, they don't have a lot of weight anymore. Only because Jared is not playing his game. He's playing his and his mom's game. And
it's very much a duo.
Cerise is sort of in that boat, but the thing is, Jared, I could be wrong, right? It is August 16th at 6:58 p.m. At this point in time, I believe Jared would never cut Cerise, but Cerise would cut Jared.
No.
If her back was against the wall, I believe it. I think it only because I think Cerise loves the game more, but Cerise has more fire for the game than Jared has. And I think Jared would want to go again. Everything he's done up to this point has been for his mom. And I think Cerise has been around the block enough times to know that when your back's against the wall, you don't go down dying. And I think that that's not something he would do. I'm not upset Cerise here. I'm not as big of a Survivor fan as Dylan is. So, obviously, again, it's not, it's a little bit more with, again, a grain of salt. I'm excited Cerise here. I wish she wasn't here with him.
Yeah.
And same thing. I wish he wasn't here with her.
Right.
I wish she, he had played this season, she comes next season, or vice versa. I would love to see Jared play.
Or have Jared on Survivor as
Right.
Cerie's son, and then have Cerie on Big Brother. I think the thing is, I agree. The reason Jared, I think still I am okay with where we put him in their preseason rankings because he didn't win this competition, and I think bigger threats have emerged. I don't think anyone's looking
You're
at
okay
Jared.
with where you put him. I put him second. I put him in second.
Yes, and I think there's a very likely chance Cerie wins and Jared second, so I think you're going
Oh,
to
okay.
the money. No, but that's the thing. If they can get to the end together, which I think they really could. If anything, I think people would think he's Felicia's son because he keeps saying how much Felicia's like a mother figure. I think the thing Jared's doing poorly is the fact that he's trying to win when he doesn't need to, and he hasn't. That's what the good thing is. But the thing Jared's doing really well, though, is that every time he kind of like cheekily looks at the camera, wink, wink, about him and his mom's relationship, by saying things like, oh, I never watched Survivor, what was her game like? Or saying, Felicia, you remind me of my mom. I think that's really smart because every time he says that, why would anyone think, Felicia's like your mom? No, you look like Cerie. You're Cerie's son. I think he's trying to steer it so much in the other direction that it's going to help him. I don't think anyone's on his tail about that. I think if it was going to be figured out, it would happen earlier. That's another conversation for another time. We've already had that conversation, but I think he is successfully playing both sides, especially now that
he's very successfully playing both sides.
I think if it was still line in the sand, two sides the whole way through, he'd be playing a little bit of an iffier game because if he does win, he's going to have to choose sides and stuff. But now that we're starting to see Riley's side of the house start to clock that a few of their members maybe they don't want to go to the end with, and then Cerie's side of the house do the same thing. The fact that Cerie and Izzy and Felicia are all like, yeah, Hisam is now a threat that needs to go, I think that really helps Jared because now Jared, if he does win, maybe now Jared can get rid of Hisam and then he can appease his handful alliance and still his mom. I think that's where Jared's lucking out, is that it's not so line in the sand as it was last week, and that there is now kind of interlocking between these big alliances to where last week if he wins, I think he's screwed. So
the difficult thing right now is Jared, and I'm talking kind of in live. It's been a couple of hours since I've checked Twitter to really check in on feeds. Felicia and Jared have both kind of stated they don't want Riley to go. They don't want Riley to go. They think that everyone's visual on Riley is kind of clouded by the fact that so many people are willing to go down for her. The problem with that is what Felicia and Jared have stated, and I personally, I agree. I think that this is for sure something to watch for. Cameron is more likely to become a number, knowing that nobody was really campaigning to him. Nobody was really trying to save him. They just wanted Riley out. He is more likely to be a potential number for Hisam than Riley is.
Right.
They are Felicia and Jared have kind of clocked that, and as they are watching, and obviously we've had a lot of flops. We are flip-flopping back and forth. Cerie wanted Riley to stay.
We don't want to get too much in the feeds right now because we were going to try to get everything before the veto. Just because people who are not seeing the episodes. But there's a lot of flip-flopping going on in the house, and I think it's interesting to see. So Hisam wins this challenge. The challenge is ridiculous. Whatever, Stranger Things, whatever. Hisam wins. Hisam then nominates Riley and Cameron. Riley because it's very clear that is his target, and Cameron because he's a pawn, and also a lot of people in his lines don't like him. And that's one thing I think the show is not doing well, is not really showing why people don't like Cameron. Cameron's a little bit of an icky dude.
Little icky. What did I say? What did I say? I got the ick.
I got the ick. He's a little bit of an icky dude, especially in regards to Riley. When he said to Riley, we talked about it in the last episode, so we're not going to go in depth here. And they haven't really been showing it on the show, and I hope they do if Cameron is the boot to kind of illustrate why he is. But the interesting premise here now, they're both on the block. Now we're going to get into live feed talk, and this is what Zach was saying. Now that they're on the block, it started with, everyone's going to go after Riley because that's what the HOH wants, and usually you go by what the HOH wants. And Riley is a threat. She's got Jag, Blue, and Matt around her finger. That four is so solid. And yes, they have America, Corey, and Cameron as an extension, but that four is so solid that Riley makes sense as a boot. And she's the only other person next to Hisam to win. Now transition to the Hisam thought. Hisam has won 3 challenges at this point, so he's now a threat. And I think the way he's being so blunt, he's being blunt because he wants to show honor. He doesn't want to lie. But by being so honorable, he's being very direct, and he's kind of rubbing people the wrong way in a way that I appreciate because I think he's more of I don't think he's doing it in a mean
No, I don't think so.
It's more of the villain. You're like, oh my God, that's a villain, rather than like what an icky guy. I mean, he's annoying some people, which is fair, but
my thing with Heisem is that Heisem says in his DR, I don't want to win this on the HOH competition.
Right.
He says, I don't want to win this. In an HOH comp, especially in a competition like this where it is so easy to mistakenly see something, to say you don't want to win, you have the opportunity to take yourself out. In fact, not for nothing, and I understand, like, we gotta win for the professors. Heisem knows that Jared is a number for their, so he knows that he's in kind of as this double agent for them to kind of like, he does know that.
I didn't think he did. I think Suri and Izzy and Felicia.
Maybe I
don't know. But I think Heisem, Suri and Felicia have told Heisem you can trust Jared, but he's not. He doesn't know he's attached to the professors at all. He's not in that. And Heisem is the one who's running the professors because that's what Suri and Felicia want. They want him to be the figurehead, like Riley is a figurehead for the
And so what I think is so frustrating, and this is why, like, unfortunately, I mean, we're correct. We both, I believe, had Heisem in our pre-jury.
Yeah, we thought he'd be an early boot.
And this is exactly why Heisem
so
can't help but put himself forward. And I have to say, one of the things that I think is the worst move for his game this week is putting Riley up. Because what he did is he showed them, this is the person who thought I was a target, so I am making sure that she's gone. Instead of, I don't like Corey. I don't want Corey to be here. I don't like Cameron. And in this early phase of the game, when you target someone who highlights you as a threat, you showcase how much of a threat you think you are. Right? It would be like Suri putting up. It would literally be like Suri putting up Riley because Riley wins competitions and she doesn't. Right? I don't want to be deemed as a threat, so I'm going to put the only person up there who has any sort of threat level. Right? Whereas all she could, really, the person, all Heisem had to say was, I can tell how tight you are with Jag, with Matt.
She should be a threat because of her relationships, not her challenge status, and not because she's targeting him. Because let's be honest, that whole side is targeting him.
Right.
Just like his whole side is targeting Riley.
And so what's funny is that Heisem has actually done Riley more of a favor. I don't necessarily think that she is definitely the target. So you can talk a little bit about the flip.
How it's going on right now is Heisem, because he's so direct in getting out Riley, people who are like, let's still talk to Riley, I still like Riley as a person, are starting to realize, I'm starting to like Riley more than I like Heisem. Now, everyone agrees that Riley's a bigger threat than Cameron, because Riley wins comps, because Riley has more relationships than Cameron. But I think a lot of them are looking forward 2 steps ahead to, yes, Riley's the bigger threat right now between her and Cameron, but between her and Heisem, it's a question of, do I want to break up the tight 4 of Riley, Jag, Blue, and Matt, or do I want to keep Riley to use against Heisem? Now, Suri and Izzy were right on board with, let's use Riley to get out Heisem next week. Whereas people like your winner pick Nicole, like Jared, have been like, and even Felicia to a bit, have said, I get what you're saying, but I think we should use Heisem as a shield right now because he is such a threat. If Jag or America or Blue, if one of them win, they'll still take out Heisem. We don't need Riley to do that. Right. And then by getting out Riley, we still weaken Jag, Matt, and Blue. But then the counter with Suri is, then we don't have Jag, Riley, Jag, Blue, or Matt down the line. So it's a lot of flip-flopping. If you keep Riley, that side is still very strong, but you have a better chance of getting out Heisem next week. If you boot Riley, Heisem's happy, and you weaken that foursome, but then you don't get anyone from that foursome. Now, my point of view, I think the thing is, Suri is playing the Big Brother game after playing Survivor. Right now, by now, she would have voted out 4 or 5 people.
I saw that. It's
that's
a different kind of
game. The game is moving so slow that I feel like she almost feels like she has to do more than she is. Instead of the safe vote of going after Riley, I feel like Suri's flip was more so I just want to play. So I'm going to make this plan. Also because they're all starting to sour on Heisem. But I think now, at least today, where the mindset is, you know what? You're right. If we blindside Heisem by keeping Riley, there's a chance he could still win the veto next week, and then if he wins HOH the week after, now we're all enemies of his. Whereas at least if you get rid of Riley now, sure, some people are mad, but like you can still get out Heisem next week. You just don't have Riley to do it. But I really think you could have Jared go after Heisem, Corey go after Heisem. I think there's enough people to go after Heisem where I think the right move and the move that Nicole was really stressing, Nicole's been awesome. Nicole has been stressing is that Riley's still a threat. Get her out now. Cameron's not a threat. Cameron can link up with Heisem, but Cameron hasn't proven himself in challenges. So let's just get rid of Riley. We'll go after Heisem next week, but we'll have other people go after Heisem. I think that's the best move. I really do. I like the idea of the flip for the sake of entertainment, but I do think for Cerie's game and Izzy's game, it's better to not piss off the guy who's winning all these challenges and who is so overtly direct.
My thing is, you are correct. It's a good call. Riley's a threat, blah, blah, blah. There have only been 4 competitions this season. Sorry, not including, no, I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Well, the first few competitions weren't won. They were
right.
Lost, but yes.
The thing about that is, of the 4 competitions, Heisem has won 3 of them. The only other person who has stood up to him in any capacity has been Riley. So my thought process is, if you're really truly looking to get rid of Heisem, the person who has the best track record of winning is Riley. If Heisem is your eventual target and you are really, like if you are that nervous about him winning veto, you've got to put someone else up there who has enough of a track record with him to, if anything, I use Riley as fodder for next week. And let me tell you why. You know that one of 2 things is going to happen. Or sorry, one of 3 things is going to happen. Riley could win the veto. Heisem could win the veto, or somebody else can win the veto. With whoever else wins the veto, it doesn't really matter if they take one of them off. You will get your target out. It just will take another week. Sure, you piss Heisem off. It is what it is. But Heisem doesn't have numbers because his numbers are gone, right? Like that. The professors were his numbers.
Well, he still has red.
Yeah,
and
again.
He would have Cameron if Riley goes.
That is 2 votes against the entire rest of the house, pretty much, right? And split into these smaller pockets of 6 or 5. My big thing is, listen, I love Riley. I still think she's great.
Oh yeah, I like her. I just think she's
And the thing is, I think her first week was so heavily manipulated by Cameron, and that is what frustrates me, is that Cameron is the one who caused Riley's discourse, and instead of him being the one walking out on Thursday, it's potentially her.
Well, I also think Riley doesn't know that, though. Riley thinks Cameron was doing her good, and I think that's another factor, too, is if Riley had the ability to campaign against Cameron, I think the one thing about Cameron manipulating Riley that's worked for him is that she's not going to campaign against Cameron. She's campaigning to stay so she can beat Heisem.
Right.
Less so about Cameron going. And I think if the best thing to do if you're on the block is make it why the other person is more dangerous to your game versus why you're an asset. Because right now everyone's thinking, okay, but Cameron can do this too. Like, I think that's the problem, is she needs to be saying Cameron is bad for your game because, rather than I'm good for your game.
Which is exactly my big thing, right? Heisem is your biggest threat to win any competition. So what you do is you bring in Riley, right? You listen. Heisem is malleable enough that if you said to him, if you came up with a reason why you voted out Cameron instead of voting out Riley, you could probably get him on board. He just needs to still think he has numbers. You don't put him up, you backdoor him, right? There are 1,000,001 ways to do this. Everyone's frustration with pissing, this is my thing. Why are we pissing Heisem off? Why do you care about pissing Heisem off? You're not going to put him in the majority.
Think about the 2 times Michael, I forget his last name, was pissed off. He won those vetoes and then won like 6 more that season. If you piss someone off, they're going to get more incentive to win, and I think that's a problem. But Cerie's thinking, I'm not great in challenges. If we vote out Cameron instead, Heisem's pissed. Heisem can't play for HOH, but if he gets picked for the veto, or if we put him on the block and he wins the veto, like,
I don't know.
We have to rely on him either not getting picked for veto or somehow losing veto after this fire's been lit under his ass. I think the easier thing is to get rid of Riley, and then later on next week,
but I'm bored of that.
Hisam's guard is down. That's when you target
That's the big brother I'm bored of, and I know that this is
right. Well, that's the difference.
We said this is going to be short.
And I love how you said you think Cerie's playing poorly when you're advocating for her move of keeping Riley.
Well, so this is my thing of why I don't think Cerie is playing poorly. What did I say? I think her gameplay is not as good as I expected or something like that. Maybe I'll go back and watch it. I probably said what you said that I said. Because Cerie is used to quick.
Yeah, like let's flip it, boom, we vote.
And this is something
now you're flipping. You have 3 days.
This is something that I've been talking about with that I've had discussions with. Fun fact: Dylan is playing his first online reality game. He's playing Survivor Lights Camera Action. They're in Kanto season. You should go check it out on Facebook if you're on Facebook, and then shout us out and tell them why you're there. But this is something that I've had discussions with people, in the community, people who also love Survivor and Big Brother, is that different people thrive under different circumstances. Cerie doesn't need time to cook. She works under pressure. She could have flipped that whole vote yesterday.
If last night was the eviction.
If yesterday was eviction, she could have flipped that whole vote. Riley would be here. Cameron would have walked out the door, and they would have said, "We'll worry about it later." And that's the thing, is that Cerie has to adapt quickly. She is taking a little too long to adapt to the way that this game is being played, and that because now here's the problem. Now everyone knows what she did. Now everyone knows that she tried to flip. Now everyone knows that she.
Hisam doesn't.
But yet, that's my thing. Is that yet?
Right.
All someone has to do, and this is why the flip with Riley. This is why I think it's a better move for most people, but especially for Cerie, because now, if this flip didn't work, and Riley just says to one or two, Riley says to Jack, Cerie talks about flipping, all Jack has to do is go to Hisam. That's why Izzy, I think, is not as savvy for not choosing to kind of push it more, or kind of to lean off of it. Listen, I love Nicole. I am pumped for how well she's doing. That was a baller read on my part. I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that.
Well, she's the reason it's not twisting. Really, her and Jared have been the two people who really kind of brought Cerie and Izzy back to life in terms of let's not flip this.
My thing is, now that you have made such a big move, if it was just Izzy, it would be different. There's a Survivor legend who just tried, she's greatest to never win.
I would say so.
Greatest to never win has tried to flip the entire house in week 2. I think she's gonna have a target on her back, whether she knows it or not, or whether we know it yet or not.
And the thing, it could also be, I know I have a target on my back, so I might as well make things interesting, shake things up, and flip it. Which I think for the viewers, we all want to see the flip because I think Riley's more interesting than Cam. We all like Riley more than Cam, and we do want to see Hisam get blindsided. And the only thing is, I still think, yeah, you're right. Now that she said she's going to flip, she should follow through with it, because if it gets back to Hisam that she tried to flip it and didn't. But the thing is, she could also say, I was paranoid and I decided not to flip. I'm still loyal to Hisam. That's the thing, is just like she was going to flip, she still didn't, and that could show loyalty to Hisam. I think Hisam's still going to appreciate it. If Hisam found out that she was going to flip, so was everyone else, though. That's the thing. I don't think Hisam's going to be mad at Cerie necessarily, because also Cerie could just say, Izzy thought of this, right? Or Corey can put the idea in my brain. Like, I think Cerie will have a good way of deflecting it.
I don't know, man. I think this game is a little too slow for her. I would love to be wrong. I'd love to be wrong. I would love to see her go. I know that production's not going to let her go anytime soon. Not the production.
That's not even necessary. I mean, that's not even necessarily true, because we've seen, look at Big Brother 22. Everyone wanted Janelle, Kaser, and Keisha, your old school players, to be the last ones left. Sure. Production probably wanted that too. So much so that they invented that competition, and Kaser won it the first week and got safety. But just the way it shook out. Same as the winter season of Survivor. The first 5 boots were all the first 5 winners. that's just how the game is. It's like sometimes you're going to lose. I don't think production's going to interfere. I think production's interfere as much as they can by giving her Jared, and I think that's all they really need to do because that's already a huge event.
I would like. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in Surree's Big Brother game right now. I know she is a Survivor legend. She is unbelievable. She is absolutely fantastic as a Survivor player. I would love to see her bring that into this game, and we saw in the first week. I mean, we saw her navigate that first week beautifully.
Well, the fact that she hasn't even been on the block at all, like
it is true.
Heisem could have very clearly been like, "But you're a Survivor legend, so we got to play you."
No,
the fact that she's still making those relationships is good, and I still think Izzy's going in the bus before she does in terms of. Surree's pushing Izzy in front of the bus. I still think there are other people that will take the fall before Surree. Now, between Surree and Felicia, I think Felicia's safe.
Right.
But between Surree and Izzy, Surree and Bowie, like I think there's people that the house would go against before Surree, where I think she's okay. I think the strength of Surree is her social game. I just think the strategy, she thrives on quickness. Right. And I think that's what people kind of said. And we'll end it too because the rain's going to interfere with audio a bit. But like, I still think she's okay, but I agree with you. It's a slower game, but I think it's only week 2. She will adapt, and I think she learned. I think this is a big learning lesson for Surree this week. Is that I tried to flip things, it didn't really work, and it could still work. There's still 24 hours before the eviction. We don't know what's going to happen, but I would love to see the flip. But it's like even if it doesn't, she probably realizes, okay, maybe I need to slow it down and pump the brakes, which is fine. I think we all need to learn that. I think Riley learned that too. Her first week, she didn't need to play as fast as she did because her nominees were given to her, and she played fast, and look what it got her. It got her as a target in week 2 because last week she didn't need to say that Heisem was a target for her, and that's the reason she's on the block. And I think Riley, as much as I love her, is not a great Big Brother player because of that. You don't say a target if they're not going on the block that week. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. But ultimately, you are for the flip.
Me?
Yeah, well, as a viewer, we're both for the flip because we want to see Cameron go.
This is what I alluded to, and I don't mean to say it's boring. I do think it's boring. You kind of mentioned this earlier. You go at the house. I don't like that gameplay. I know it's safe, and I know as a player I would probably feel so differently. I know I have felt different. I know when the majority has wanted to go, it's easy because the majority is not you. But when we have such a split house like this, where it doesn't need to be. This is my thing, is if it was, Kirsten in the majority, that's what Riley wanted, great. I think that's a phenomenal, phenomenal first move by everybody. Go with the majority. But right now, as someone is kind of showcasing themselves more as a threat and highlighting that they indeed are a threat, sure, Riley's a threat. The fact that the fact that Cam's name hasn't come out of anyone's mouth at all should be a red flag. He's sitting on the block. Kirsten kind of tried to highlight this with Felicia last week, but like when someone is sitting on the block and their name hasn't even come up as the choice, that's dangerous, and that's the spot you want to be in. But also, as a player, that's the thing you want to be most weary of. If your name's coming up, if someone else's name is coming up, even when you're not on the block, and the person on the block's name doesn't come up as an option, it's something to watch out for.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I'm gonna yell over this rain here.
Yay!
Zach, please fit into the road. We're gonna leave you off now, but stay tuned. Tomorrow night, we'll see what happens, and we'll be on sometime this weekend to talk about it, I'm sure. Especially if that 18th house guest does show up. We'll see. No, I don't think that's going to happen. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. And next week, I think, regardless of whether Riley stays or goes, I think Heisem is going to be the person to watch next week because I think his time is ticking. But we will see. Any last words about this week, Zach, before we dive into this rainstorm?
I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Shay, who won the ORP Survivor Vanquish. She got to play with Survivor Legends, and she got to idle out Sandra at 7.
That's big.
Which, how many people get to say that in their lives? and she won. She won by a vote of 4 to 3 to 2 against James from The Amazing Race, and Nina, Sandra's daughter.
Right.
And I mean, it was awesome to watch. I just wanted to give her a shout out. I'm going to make sure that she watches this. I'm very excited to be like really in the feeds, and I love, even if the flip doesn't happen, the power shift and the power dynamic that we have now seen is going to be awesome to watch.
Hey,
fall
if
out.
Riley goes home, we're back to a split house because now some people are going to be mad that Riley's gone. If anything, Riley staying is going to make more of a unified house against Isom. So if we don't like this whole house voting together mentality, sure, the house might vote together to get out Riley now, but getting out Riley would essentially split the house.
You are really trying to spin your best move.
Riley goes, it's split again because then
I'm
Jag.
messing with you. I know you're 100% right. You're 100%
If Cameron
right.
goes, it's almost like everyone's unified except Isom. But then that's the problem. Is if Isom, the thing is, if Cameron goes, I want to see Cameron go. If Cameron goes, Isom is on his own and he's pissed, and those big ol' eyes are gonna come out and look everyone in the face and be like, "Holy shit, you all wronged me." And honestly, I'd love to see Isom continue to just beast his way through vetoes because then it makes him a bigger villain going forward. The thing is, like Isom, as bad a villain, I know we're still talking about it, I'm sorry. The rain died down, so I wanted to get this last thought in. But Isom, I think he's a great villain because I'm very entertained by it. He's not a douchebag in a way like someone like Luke is, where it's that's the last time I'll say his name on here, but like where it's where you're just like a bad
really
person.
did forget.
It's not like the people of Big Brother 21 where it's like Jackson and Jack and all these people that are like no one just likes. Like I think Isom's still a likable guy. It's just he's playing in a very villainous way, which is fun. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you're watching from the Nether region or on the road like us or in the middle of nowhere,
or from the comic
I'm gonna watch this back and make sure that we were on the whole time just because of the connection, but it looks like we're still made it through. So thanks for watching. We'll see y'all next time. I don't know if this intro is gonna work or not, but we'll see ya.
Bye.